Natural Sponge and Friends is back here as we are awaiting Hurricane Dorian approaching in the Atlantic Ocean. So we figured it'd be a good day to get some podcasts going. We got John Peters here today, and he is a veteran of the U.S. Marine Corps. And coming later for podcast number 13 is a former or current baseball guy I work with, Big Country as I like to call him, James Arnett. I swear this guy is like the most mature person. I want to be like James when I grow up. Kid's a junior in high school. So he'll be here later. First off, I'd like to thank Phoenix Roasters Coffee for shouting us out and retweeting our stuff and everything that they've done for us so far. They run a pretty cool operation. Coffee that matters. Make sure you check out Phoenix Roasters Coffee. Gervais Syndrome at Cure Gervais on Twitter. And of course, Charlotte Concert Guy that we had just partnered with in the 704 in the Queen City. Anything you guys need for any concert information, hotel, travel, anything like that in the Charlotte area, they have everything from Chris Brown, links to Chris Brown tickets to just your startup chick playing in a dive bar underground in Uptown Charlotte. So they have all the information you guys need for that. Would like to say prayers to the Bahamas and everyone that's been affected by Hurricane Dorian so far. But luckily we're here today. Right now, it's a little rain outside. My man here, John Peters, my neighbor, got his hurricane shutters up this morning. Right?
I did.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Thanks for coming over, man.
Sure, no problem.
Anytime you live near any military veterans or anybody that has cool stories, and you do a podcast, you have to get them on, man. So really appreciate you coming over. We were just talking a little bit before. We plugged in here. A veteran of the U.S. Marine Corps, said you served from 1967 to 1971.
That's correct.
And first off, thank you for your service. My grandma and my both grandpas were in the military, man. So that's awesome. So we were talking. I know my bonus brother BP came over to your house one time. Is that last school year when he did the interview for? That was last school year.
Yeah, it was.
Time flies.
Mm-hmm.
Time flies. So first off, sort of those questions. But I'd like to start once we'll get to the military stuff. But you were born in New Jersey, and you said your dad was in the Marines.
He was.
And where you were born in Jersey, and then you had a North Carolina connection there.
Yeah, he was in the Marines stationed at Camp Lejeune, North Carolina. So I did a lot of growing up right there in near the coast in North Carolina.
What was it like growing up in a military family like that? Did you bounce around a lot, or was it just a few moves? Or
No, we bounced around a lot, but you're always near one of the big Marine bases, and on the East Coast, it's pretty much Camp Lejeune.
That's right. I know we been by there many times growing up in Winston-Salem and going different places. So been by there quite a few times. So how long were you in North Carolina until you moved to Illinois? Because I didn't realize you lived in North Carolina until just a little bit ago.
Yeah, I think I was in 5th or 6th grade when we moved north.
You got any brothers or sisters?
One sister.
Was it tough on you guys at a younger age to move? And
always, yeah, that's hard on kids.
It is, especially you find friends everywhere you go.
Yeah.
And you still keep in touch with any of the kids that you used to hang out with back in the day?
No, not really.
Everybody kind of moved on their separate ways.
Yeah.
So growing up, was the military something that you always wanted to do, or?
Well, I always admired my dad, and he took me on the base quite a bit, and I got to see a lot of the Marine Corps as a kid, and so yeah, I always liked the Marines. I figured if I ever went in, I'd have to go in the Marines.
That's right. He wouldn't let you go anywhere else, would he?
That's very true.
So what did he do in the Marines? There's so many different avenues in the military that I didn't even realize existed, especially growing up.
Yeah.
And, it's insane. So what did he do there?
Well, he was in what they call the Greatest Generation. He was right out of high school in 1941 when Pearl Harbor was bombed, and so he joined the Marines at that point in time, and of course he was in the Pacific Campaign, fighting all the way across to Japan.
Wow.
And you've seen all the movies about the Marines hitting the beach and all that. He was there for every one of them but 2.
Jeez.
And he eventually, when the war was over, he did get out of, or he came off active duty and went into he went into the active reserves,
Gotcha.
which means they can call you up
Anytime.
anytime. Yeah, and so he worked as a civilian for a while, and then it looked like Korea was going to happen, so the Marines called him back in.
Wow. I know my dad has told me stories. My grandpa passed away right before my mom found out she was pregnant with me, and but he was in Pearl Harbor, and he said that I've heard it from not just dad, but quite a few people that knew grandpa, and said that he had told them that they were flying so low when they came in that you could see the rings on their fingers and the whites in their eyes.
I've heard that also. Yeah.
I mean, that's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah.
The stuff, that's
Yeah.
crazy. So,
So what he did during World War II was artillery. So they called them cannon cockers, and they had a few other nicknames for him. But he was in artillery. When he got called back in, he had his choice of a lot of different things, and he knew one of his buddies had stayed in, the whole time, and was actually made a lot of rank and was a pretty high-ranking Marine at the time, and told him that he would like him to go to Cooks and Baker School, and because this guy he became a general not too long after that, but he wanted my dad to cook for him and everything, so he ended up being what they called a mess sergeant.
gotcha.
He was in charge of the mess hall.
That's pretty neat.
Yeah.
That's cool. So when did he ended up retiring from the military, or?
He retired the year I went in.
Wow. So he passed you the torch.
Yep.
He said, "Here you go, young blood, go get it."
He did.
So you were there in 1967 to 71. Where how was that first day you're away from home and you go into boot camp? I'm guessing, is that?
Oh yeah, Marine Corps boot camp in San Diego, California.
I heard I don't know if it's a rumor or not. Do they really take your shoelaces the first week?
No.
Okay, see, that's some guy told me that one time. We had a guy, I'm not going to mention his name on here. I don't know if he's still active or what, but he was a wild man. He graduated a year ahead of me, and he was training to be a sniper, and he was built for that job, to say the least. But he had said it the first week, and it may have been, honestly, man, because somebody committed suicide. I think that might be it. So they took all the bootlaces that week or something. Yeah. But I'd heard that, so I didn't know if that was true. So you're going to boot camp first. Is that first time away from home, or? I mean, I guess it's still part kind of your comfort zone, though, right? Because you grew up in it.
First time, certainly away from home like that, because it's a whole new world when you're in boot camp.
Did any crazy stories from the first couple weeks that you could think of, or?
Well, we did have a suicide.
Oh man.
Yeah.
So I guess that's.
Yeah. So.
That's sad, man.
So they were real careful about, when we were doing firearms training and shooting things, they were real careful about when they gave you your ammo and
right. Make sure
all that stuff. Make sure that you're ready to shoot the target and not yourself.
Yeah. Good Lord. So, where you said it was in San Diego, California?
That's correct.
That's awesome. What base is out there?
Well, it's called, where you go to boot camp is called MCRD, Marine Corps Recruit Depot.
Okay.
So, then the Marines also have El Toro, which is an air base, and then there's also Camp Pendleton, which is kind of like the Camp Lejeune on the West Coast.
Okay.
Real big.
Yeah.
Probably the biggest Marine base in the States.
Wow. So you get through boot camp, you do all that stuff. Obviously ace everything with flying colors, I'm guessing.
Did okay.
So you want to get stationed. What was going on at that time? Was there anything?
Vietnam was going on.
Wow. See, that's why I need to check up on these things. That's why we got Big John here today.
Yeah.
To give us my history lesson I need. So Vietnam's going on. What?
Oh yeah, big time.
So you get stationed where?
Well, I got an aviation job, so I went to Memphis, Tennessee, for training.
Uh-huh.
And took their very comprehensive electronics, and actually they called it avionics courses, where you learn how to work on airplanes, the electrical or electronic portions.
That's pretty cool.
And my specialty was radar. And so the planes that I was trained to work on was the F-4, the Phantom. They're pretty well known. Most people know what you're talking about.
Yeah, I remember. Well, Braden didn't.
Yeah, no, he was kind of young.
Yeah.
But I learned how to work on that radar system, and then I went to Cherry Point, North Carolina.
Nice. That's not too far from me either, where I grew up.
Yeah,
I got a little drive, but so you're there. Is that what you did till 1971, the radar and all that stuff, or?
Yeah. Well, I went overseas. I went to Vietnam in 1969.
Okay.
And I was there until January of '71.
Wow. Is that when?
No, I take that back. I went to Vietnam in '69, but then our whole squadron was pulled back to Japan, so I didn't get to come home. But I wasn't in Vietnam anymore.
Gotcha. I think that might be when Braden was doing that for the school project or whatever. What was that town? Was it town in Japan or the town in Vietnam where we talked about? I'm not sure which one it was. But what was the name of the town in Vietnam?
Well, it wasn't a town; it was a base.
Okay.
It was actually an army base called Chu Lai. I guess it was a town.
Yeah, Chu Lai. That's
Chu
what
Lai,
it was. Yeah.
Yeah, Chu Lai is a small town outside the gate there.
Gotcha. Do you guys ever go off base there when?
Oh yeah. Actually, we could volunteer to go off base. There wasn't a lot of for a while there. It was pretty calm around there, and the Marine Corps did these dental clinics for the general populace out there.
Right.
And so they'd go out there and set up a clinic, and they would ask for volunteers who'd want to guard. And so a bunch of us Marines would, grab our weapons, and we'd go to the PX and buy some candy bars and go out there. And the kids would love us because they'd all come around to get some candy.
Right. That's cool. So what was your favorite? Because you have to have a favorite, I'm guessing. Your favorite weapon to fire?
Well, there was really only one. The M16 was what we trained on. And that's what we had the whole time we were over there.
Wow, just one.
Yep.
That's cool.
Well, we were trained somewhat in the 45 pistol, but we never had one in overseas. Officers carried a 45, but all the enlisted guys all carried M16s.
I told you I'd ask some crazy questions, though. You ever involved in live fire?
Not really, no.
Gotcha.
I mean, I got fired upon because later on things kind of picked up around there, and the North Vietnamese moved down in our area, and it's pretty mountainous out there. We were right at the coast, kind of like a Myrtle Beach area. Right. We had a nice beach and everything, but there was mountains over here, and they would hide in the mountains, and they'd shoot their rockets and grenades and stuff at us. And so we had to sandbag up our hooches that we lived in, and the airplanes all were kept in these concrete revetments. And they were open on the ends, but they were pretty well shielded from shrapnel, unless something landed right, at the front of it or the back of it.
Right.
So, but that's what they were aiming at. They were aiming at the planes, but quite often we got in their way, and one of my friends did get hit, and he went home.
Oh man, that's tough. So you leave. Is it obviously honorable discharge? I'm guessing, is that what they call it? 1971.
Yes, it is.
And see, I'm smarter than I look sometimes. So honorably discharged in 1971, and as opposed to now, we didn't talk about this one. Opposed to, I guess, following your father's footsteps and staying in some capacity, which route did you take? You went a different route.
I went in. I was in the reserves. It's you're I don't know what the law is now, but at the time your commitment to the government was 10 years. And so I spent 4 years in, and so I had 6 more years to go, and that was in the inactive reserves, but they could have called me back if they needed me.
Gotcha. And then you moved back home, or moved back to Illinois then?
Moved back to Illinois.
Now, when you moved back, and I've been waiting on this one, beautiful, sweet Jane is Big John's wife, and she makes some great great cookies and stuff in the kitchen. So you guys should be jealous.
She's baking right now.
Oh, let's go! I know the kids are going to be happy. So you guys went to high school together.
We did.
Graduating class of this one's astounding. Of 99 people.
99
right?
people. Yeah.
Megan was saying something about her high school class. I think it was probably around that size. So what were you saying earlier about the being bused to school out in the out in the country or?
Yeah, the school was called Canelan High School, and it was.
And this is in Illinois.
This is in Illinois, out in farm country, and a bunch of these little towns all had their own little schools, and they decided to all get together and form a big school district and build a new school out in the country, and so that's where we went to high school.
Awesome. And so did you guys date in high school?
We did.
I hear you. Mm-hmm. I want to see pictures of that. I want to see fresh Big John taking her out on a Friday night out on the town. So you come back. You guys, obviously, what year did you guys get married?
67.
67. Oh, so y'all were married while you were gone.
We were, yeah.
I hear you.
Yep.
Wow.
Our oldest was born in Cherry Point at the base.
Gotcha. Awesome. Now, did she live on the base with you? Is that how, or no?
Yeah, she did.
And then, so you moved back to Illinois. You got, so your daughter.
Mm-hmm.
When was she born? After you got back, or?
Well, we have two daughters. One of them one was born in Cherry Point while we were there,
right? And
the second one was born in Illinois, but she was born while I was in Vietnam.
Wow, so that had to be tough.
Yeah.
And I'm guessing technology wasn't the same then as it is now.
No, you could make phone calls home, but it was a challenge. I never actually did it, but some of my friends did actually do it.
That's pretty neat, man. So, and then you started working. You said took a class at doing auto body stuff.
I did, right?
And then the power company.
And then the electric company. Yep.
So what did you do there? Nuclear power plant.
Well, the first you go to school for almost a year.
Mm-hmm. Did they pay for the school since they were opening up the plant and all that?
Yeah. You're an employee the whole time you're going to school, and then you're an operator. Operators are the guys who actually get out there and run the plant, start equipment, stop equipment, help the maintenance guys. If you're going to work on a pump or something, it's got to all be isolated and drained and all that. So that's what the operators do. Mechanical maintenance comes in, does their fix, and then we have to fill things up and get things tested and back online.
So any experiences from working on the radars and the aircraft, was that able to help you at all in the power industry? It
was, yeah. There's a lot of electronics in the power plant, and so you'd come across that occasionally. So, yeah, that did help.
Gotcha. So, and then you worked there for, you said 20 years, I believe?
20 years.
20 years, retired, and then, so did you never got called back into the Marines?
Nope, never did.
No. So you guys moved down here in 2017.
That's right.
So, and one of your daughters already lived down here, correct?
She did. She moved down here before us.
Yeah. Is that why the move, or is the cold weather, or what's the move?
There were several things. Cold weather, high taxes, and our daughter lives here.
There you go. They say taxes are insane up north.
They are.
My buddy lived in Jersey, and he still lives in Jersey, I think, but he was talking about how much everything is. And a lot of baseball guys I know, their dads or grandpas or whoever in the family, a lot of them were retired New York policemen, and they like 20 to 25 years, you're done, you get your pension, you get to move to
wherever. Yeah,
if you make it out.
Yeah,
because they say some crazy stuff happens up there.
Oh yeah.
But I know we've gotten a couple books from you, since we've been neighbors, and one of them was a car book, pretty thick, had a bunch of old cars in it and stuff.
Yeah.
What was your first car?
My first car was a '54 Chevy convertible.
Oh, nice. What color?
Green.
Green.
Yeah. It was green.
Were you like a motorhead? Did you race them or?
No, but I certainly learned to work on them because cars. You buy an old car, you got to work on it to keep it going.
Yeah. What year was it?
54.
54.
Yeah.
So you guys enjoying Myrtle Beach so far, except for the hurricanes?
We certainly are, yeah. Mm-hmm.
So I have to ask this too, because this is it's your son-in-law. He does a bunch of eBay stuff, right?
He does.
I love his license plate. It says "Thanks eBay."
Yes, it does.
So he's a big card trader too, right?
He is.
That's I always see it pull in. I'm like, "Thanks eBay." I'm like, "That's sick. I'm gonna sell some stuff on eBay." I've had a couple good sales, man, but nothing like I can't put it on the back of the truck and say "Thanks eBay."
Yeah, well, that came about when he started making more money buying and selling sports memorabilia than he was at his job. So thanks, eBay.
Yeah, give him the extra little cash to get over that hump, man.
Yeah.
So retired, living down in Myrtle Beach. What do you guys like to go to the state parks and everything like that? I
Oh
believe,
yeah,
right?
yeah. We do like the state parks.
What's your favorite place? Favorite restaurant down here?
I think, believe it or not, it's Jay Peters.
Really? See, he already had it in his mind before he went in. Jay Peters was going to be the place to go. You just tell everybody when you go in, John Peters. They'll be like, "Oh man, the big boss man's here."
I tell them that every time I go in there, but they just kind of
still not giving you a deal.
No, they don't believe I'm family for some reason.
You went to the military. They forgot about you.
Mm-hmm.
That's cool, man. So when we first moved down, or first moved into here, there wasn't hardly any houses on our road. Now everything's completely different.
Oh boy, yeah.
I mean, it's crazy how quick these people get these houses up these days.
Yeah, our lot was the edge of the world in Cameron Village. There was nothing but trees and
that's it. Y'all had the prime spot.
Yeah, we did. Yeah.
And now we got neighbors beside you, in front of you, behind you, and
we do.
The crazy neighbors, us, are on the other side of them. So. But you still have one daughter still lives in Illinois. She didn't want to make the move with you guys. Did y'all black sheep her or?
No, she's got her own daughter who's still in college up there, and she didn't want to move while she was in school. So she's agreed to stay around until she graduates.
Sweet. And then she's coming down too?
She's planning on it, yeah.
Can't beat it. It's the traffic and I guess the growth is the only thing that is killing me now. I read a stat somewhere that I think it's like 25 to 45,000 people are going to be moving into Horry County over the next, I think, 4 to 5 years. I mean, that's insane. That's a huge, and everywhere you look, you see trees being ripped down and new neighborhoods being put up, and all my golf courses are getting torn down. But,
they are, yeah.
But we got to go. We've been talking about it forever, and we went one day with the kids. And have you guys made it to Top Golf yet?
Oh yeah.
Okay, so
we've been there a couple times.
So see, he's cheating on me. He's on there twice. We've been talking about when we do meet up with John at John Peters at Top Golf, we'll make sure we're gonna put a video of us and see who hit the furthest ball. Braden will beat us both, but
I'm sure he will.
He just launches balls, man. Did you play golf growing up or like no golf?
No.
Baseball?
Baseball I did, and in high school I went out for track.
Did track?
Yeah.
I'm sure Penny could talk a lot about track. She coached at I want to say one of the high schools up there.
Yeah.
But she might have done some Rio stuff too. I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But that's cool, man. But when you're overseas and I'll wrap this up here shortly. But when we're overseas and you're in Vietnam, and you got these people shooting at you, grenades at you, and all this stuff. What kind of puts you? Because I've always said you got to be a tough ass dude to be able to go into the Marines, and just to say I'm going to go. You got to be a tough minded, strong person. But what was able to put you at peace over there? Did you freak out, or is that something you don't ask Marine guys, or how did you see this, or did it just become like robotic, like instinctually by that time?
Well, it's not like people are shooting at you when you walk off the airplane. It's like normal everyday life, and you have a job to do, and you got to go to work every day and do that, and then occasionally the war comes to town, and then you got to change your attitude about things, and and be a little bit more careful. I mean, we had to build a bunker, and we had to, when we were getting incoming, we had to go out in the bunker and hopefully hope that none of it landed too close to us. And most of it didn't, because they were aiming at the airplanes, but we did get, we lived in these little plywood huts, and the hut right down from us did get hit one time. And that was a guy who that I knew from back in the States. He was actually my next door neighbor.
Wow.
But he wasn't hurt seriously, but bad enough to go home.
Right.
But I don't think that anybody had to take on a special persona to be there and to live there and work. It's kind of like you're too busy to think about it too much.
Right. So you're just there doing your job and getting things done.
Yeah.
So one thing that with Natural Sponge podcast, Natural Sponge and Friends podcast, that always life, sports, and love. We're going to talk about, if not all three, one of them extensively, throughout. But one thing that that I, personally see in you is a great love and a great relationship with Jesus Christ.
That's very true.
And if you could touch on that for people out there that are just, in a tough spot, in a dark place, that because I've said on here, there's a couple, there's probably 2 or 3 podcasts on here. I've told a couple of stories that you'd be like, how in the world is he alive? My roommate passed away in college, and he committed suicide. And I was big into church. Me and my buddy Brad Evington would go to all this stuff growing up and in high school, and big followers of Jesus Christ and the Christian church and everything that we were doing around town and shows and everything like that. And I didn't get baptized until 2005, a day after my grandpa's, when he passed away. It was like a day after. I wanted to do it on, that day was January 6th, 2005. And I appreciate my mom and dad letting me be able to make my own decision, as opposed to you're 2 years old and one day you're like, oh, you were baptized when you were 1, or, but people make their own decisions and stuff like that too. I'm not judging that, but,
sure.
I was able to make my own decision. And then it was 2000, it was 2 years later, Ryan passes away, and, I go 10 years, mad and angry and, holding a bunch of stuff in. And, there's a lot of people, even if there's only one person that listens to this out there, there's a lot of people, luckily my relationship now with my wife and has led me back to, good people, and led me back to God. And like we've had the preacher on here, talk to just in case you're listening, John Mullahan, I got the Vertical Church hat on right now too. So the guy in Ohio that married us. But what do you, when did you make that decision to have him as your Lord and Savior, and how does it help you on a daily basis, and for people out there that are hurting and lost?
Yeah, that's a great question. I think that don't remember exactly when this happened, but I think the Lord's been working on me for a long time. But and one time, I don't know how this radio station got on. It's kind of like the radio tuned itself to the right station.
It'll happen.
Yeah. And all of a sudden, I'm hearing this preacher. I'm hearing him share about evolution and creation. And when you go through school around here, they drill it in your head that you evolved, and that
you know it, man.
Yeah.
No God in schools.
That's for sure. Now it wasn't like that way when I was in real young, kindergarten and first grade. Then back then you prayed every day.
Well, me and Megan were talking about that. We even had prayer, and I know we did in elementary school.
Yeah.
So it's crazy how far that gap has happened.
Yeah. Well, as soon as the Supreme Court ruled that they couldn't have the Bible or prayer in school anymore, then things went downhill fast.
Leave it up to them.
Yeah. So the whole moral culture of the United States drastically changed and
quickly
went from a semi-Christian culture to something much worse. But Yeah, I heard this guy talking, and I was, I didn't know what to believe. I mean, the teachers, the books, they all show you the caveman turning into a modern man and all this stuff, and I always wondered about it. And then but this guy had a lot of the answers that I was looking for.
Right.
And so I thought, this is really important stuff. So I started listening to this particular guy all the time. His name was D. James Kennedy, and he's gone to be with the Lord at this time. But he had a show on TV for a long time, and now his daughter has taken over that show. But he's a great apologist for the faith, and he showed me that all evidence requires interpretation. And all depending on your mindset, that's the way you're going to interpret things.
That's a great quote.
Yeah. And so that's when I started reading the Bible and going to church. And then, the Lord works on you. At one point in time, you're like, I give up. My life is yours. What do you want me to do?
Magical.
Yeah.
That's awesome. That's awesome. So I know we had talked a little bit about where we go down at Live Oak. And, I mean, sometimes I think one time it was 15 people in there,
Mm-hmm.
and some weekends you'll have the 40 to 45 or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
very small, and like me and Campbell were talking on here, it's kind of like almost like a Bible study to some extent, just
Mm-hmm.
an open Bible study, and
Yeah.
but meeting him, and I've been here 7 years, and I've gone to a church down here. Me and Megan went to one twice, and you have the people that, because they go to church on Sunday,
Mm-hmm.
they can judge you, they can talk about you, they can talk behind your back and all that. Those guys. So we went twice, and I was like, yeah, well, I'm not going back. Like,
Mm-hmm.
luckily, Addison, one of Megan's friends, told us about Live Oak. That's where they go. And Campbell, at the time, their family had gone through a very rough time. And said Campbell was, incredible. And I go, and I'm like, who is this goon, right? Who is this guy? And dude, a year and a half later now, 2 years, I guess, you could call him one of my best friends, man. So he's an awesome
That's
guy.
great.
So,
Great.
I think we have a lot of people in the church too. We had a lot coming at one time. I think somebody was picking them up in a van, and there was like 6 or 7 people that I'm guessing they were going through rehab or something like that.
Mm.
And one of them actually became the drummer in the band.
Oh yeah.
And but it's awesome to watch. God's got a plan. If you give him your life, he's got a plan, and you just let him take control of it. And
That's true.
and go. It's funny, Megan's always, especially with all the crap she's dealing with, always saying, just write it down for me, and then something will pop up somewhere. And like you said with the radio station, it's pretty cool.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, thanks for coming on today. I'm sure this close, I'm gonna have to have you come back on again sometime.
Be happy to.
It's fun. Like I said, we just get on here and talk crap, and just it's cool. I've had a lot of people. We did one with Kaylee and her friend Cameron. It was I think it was last Saturday,
Mm-hmm.
and we did one with Hunter Spencer, and then right after that, Cameron. Prayers to the Frederick family, by the way. Cameron lost her grandma on Sunday, I believe, Sunday or Monday.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was Monday. So prayers to the Frederick family. We're thinking about you guys. But it was late night. She couldn't sleep. She's worried about her grandma and everything like that. And we came. I was like, let's do a podcast. And Cameron's like, okay. Kaylee was like, no. I'm like, oh, come on. Who cares, right? I have got so much good feedback from that podcast for an hour with 2 11-year-old girls. It's hilarious. Because at that age, I think you're smart enough to be intelligent and carry a conversation.
Sure.
But you're not mature enough yet to really hold back. Like, everything's so natural and fluid, So it's pretty neat. I got a lot of love for that one. But we'll definitely send this out to. I'll get you the link to it. Everybody listen. Like I said, I was telling Big John before we got on here that hopefully the Dorian stays off the coast a little bit, and I can have my day tomorrow get all this stuff uploaded to Libsyn and the RSS feed, so you guys won't have to use your data to listen to us on YouTube. You can just listen to it on Apple and all that stuff. Be a lot easier too. So then we'll be worldwide, not just to the people that find us randomly on YouTube. So that'll be cool.
Yeah.
But again, make sure you guys check out Phoenix Roasters Coffee, Gervais Syndrome, Charlotte Concert Guide, and continue to pray for the Bahamas and everyone affected. I know right now they're saying that it's headed up our way to Myrtle Beach. We're obviously going to get some weather, so hopefully, like we said, Big John has his hurricane shutters up. So if we need him, we're going to take the 10-foot jog, 20-foot jog to his front door to dive in.
Yes, indeed.
Well, we appreciate it. Thank you for your service. Thanks for being. I apologize for your crazy neighbors on this side. I'm sure we're too loud sometimes. And if you want the dog, we have a dog. If you want it.
No.
He's like, no. I hear my living room barking every night.
We're a no pet family.
But guys, we'll get this one on tonight, or might actually put both of them up tonight. Podcast number 12 is in the books. Podcast number 13 with James Arnett, Big Country, coming up soon. And who knows who else might stop by today. We'll see what's going on. Y'all stay safe from the hurricane. Thanks for listening to Natural Sponge, baby.